All of that said, there may be some negotiating going on. The president posting on Truth Social he had a good call with Vietnam's leaders that turned some of the exposed stocks like Nike, the other footwear makers, around. And moments ago, the EU Trade Commissioner tweeting he had frank talks with the Commerce Secretary and the U.S. Trade Rep, saying U.S. tariffs are damaging and unjustified, and the trade relationships between the U.S. and EU need a fresh approach. So what's the strategy here, and how does the public feel about it? Let's bring in Derek Thompson. He's a writer at The Atlantic and co-author of the new book, Abundance. All right, Derek, have at it. I mean, where do we start? Do we say, well, the stock market reaction is one thing, but we're trying to do something different for this country. We're trying to make housing affordable again. And I don't know. Where would you point our attention?
To be totally honest, Kelly, I've been listening the last 10 minutes of this show. I cannot believe what I'm listening to. I heard your last guest say, if the economy shrinks, that's good. If the stock market goes down, that's good. If the housing market crashes, that's good. If there's a trade war, that's good. When did the capital class get taken over by degrowther protectionists seeking 19th century autarky?
Okay, but Derek, let me just jump in for a second, because if there's one refrain we've heard from millennials over the past several years, it's that the dream is gone. They can't afford a house. Groceries are too expensive.
It's literally the first chapter of Abundance.
It's apparently the first chapter of your book. So aren't you a little surprised to hear the globalists, the pro-stock market types who are supposed to be at fault for all of this, now reading out of your book and saying we're bringing prices back down?
They're crashing the economy. That's very, very different than making housing affordable. If you want affordable housing, you need a job. If you crash the economy, you're going to have unemployment. And whenever unemployment hits an economy, as we just saw in 2008 and we saw before in the 1990s, who loses their jobs first? It's last one in, first one out. It's young people. So if your job or if your plan is to crash the economy in the short term for the purpose of helping young people afford a house, you have got it totally backward. Young people need jobs, they need money, and then they need a plan to make housing affordable, right? Donald Trump could have come into office and said, what I want to do is to make the construction of housing affordable. That means the inputs to housing. Instead, he slaps a 25% tariff on Canada, which we import our lumber from, and a 25% tariff on Mexico that we get drywall gypsum from, thus immediately raising two of the most important inputs for housing by 25%. This is a strategy to make housing less affordable at the same time that you make it harder for young people to keep a job because the stock market's puking. This is not the way to go about abundance. This is scarcity meeting scarcity. This is Trump saying we don't have enough housing, so we need fewer immigrants, or we don't have enough manufacturing in the U.S., so we need less trade. Abundance is a positive sum way of looking at the economy. It says we can grow if we invest in housing. We can have a strategy that seeks to make more of what we need in the U.S. without trying to cut ourselves off from the entire global economy. I completely reject the idea that what Trump is pursuing is anything like abundance. It is an explicitly zero.
So what's the, Derek, okay, by the way, I'm listening to Abundance. I love you. We've talked for over a decade. I'm listening to Abundance. I'm not all the way through. It's a fantastic book. You guys are getting a lot of attention. And I think one of the reasons you're getting attention for the book is that you're basically saying, listen, we are sort of centrist Democrats, self-admitted, but what we've been doing is not working, right? I think we can agree on that the path we've been going on, that rich liberal towns, they say we need more housing, but not here. Don't do it here. Like, do it somewhere else, but let's not do it here. I mean, we want it, but don't do it here. We agree that what's happened is not working. So, listen, you're right. This could send us into deep recession, crash the economy, jobs lost. I have no idea what's going to happen, Derek. Nobody really does. But do you agree that we need to try something different? Would you agree at least with that?
Oh, absolutely. We need to try something different. We need to make it much easier to build homes in cities and states that currently are torn up by rules and permitting processes and environmental review. We have a terrible housing shortage in this country. We have a shortage in California and New York, and unfortunately, it is worst in places where liberals have the most power. Right? This is a core theme of our book, that if progressives really want progressive outcomes, they need to think about the processes by which they achieve them. So absolutely, I think we should reform zoning laws in big cities, big productive cities that right now are terribly housing constrained. But that's very, very different, I think, from a housing policy that begins with tariffs that make it harder to build homes. Yeah. 25% of construction workers in this country are immigrants. An enormous amount of the materials that we import comes from overseas. We need an all-of-government government understanding that if we want houses to be affordable, young people need good-paying jobs, and houses need to be plentiful. What we don't want is a world where young people are cut off from the opportunity ladder because there's a recession in their early 20s at the same time that we make housing inputs affordable.